This video is sponsored by Squarespace, your perfect partner to easily make websites. Hey guys, it's me Elisa and I like dolls and moths. So in today's video I'm going to be customizing a gigantic 24-inch rainbow high doll and try to turn her into a moth goddess. I just recently got this doll, so let's unbox her and see what we deal with. She's big. Oh god. So yeah, this doll is indeed a lot bigger than I thought. Probably also because of the enormous head. But let's already get her out of the box. Ooh, that is a whole other dimension. Holy moly.
That's quite big.
Alright, here she is completely out of the box and I feel very intimidated by her size. I'm super looking forward to customize her though, because I'm not the biggest fan of her original design and I'm probably going to dramatically change her looks, so take a good look at this before footage one last time. Okay, so this doll is a lot bigger than I thought. What have I done? No! I guess now it's time to print out some inspiration that I already gathered so I can put together a mood board for the custom doll. Off to the printer! The inspiration for this doll comes from my favorite moth, the pink spirit Luna moth. Among other places, it also is home in China, so I wanted to make her whole look inspired by Chinese princess and opera performer looks, because I am in love with these gowns. Putting together a mood board always helps with designing things. For fabrics, I will use this pink chiffon, this purple cotton blend, a light green cotton fabric, some black chiffon, and some pink ribbons among golden fabric vinyl and golden elements. After putting together the materials, I sketched out something on my iPad that I will be using as a guide. Okay, now it is time to prepare the doll by first undressing her. I was really surprised by the detailing of the outfit. What? Another piece?
Damn, that's crazy.
It was also very cool to see that she has a torso joint, ankle joints, and that her knees are able to completely bend so she can actually kneel. Whoa! The bend. So cool. I really like this doll. Okay, now it's time to cut off her luscious locks. I tie them into a small pigtail and chop them off. Since the hair is very long and beautiful, I will definitely keep it for other projects in the future. And here she is with a pixie cut. Now I just tried to cut off the rest of the hair as short as I can, so it will be easier to remove later. Then I take some steaming hot water and dunk her head into it as much as I can. After waiting for the vinyl to soften, I then take her out of the bath and try to see if the head is squishy. It's definitely squishy. This way my X-Acto knife will cut through the vinyl like butter, so I can easily remove a scalp plate. Don't take this sentence out of context though. Now I have to remove all of this and all of this. Then, taking my tweezers, I begin to remove the remaining hair. Kinda works like that. Yep, it works. Will just be tedious as hell. I also have to do the same on the inside of the head. Oh. This will take ages.
2,000 years later.
After ages have passed, I can finally toss out all the loose hair. So satisfying. And that means we can now remove the eyes. It was kind of difficult to catch this on cam, but I basically slice open the vinyl from the inside of the head just enough to be able to remove the eyes. And then I should be able to pop them out. Oh god! Does this ever happen to you? Oh! Or this?
Ew! What the?
Fear no more, thanks to today's sponsor, Squarespace. Clean and professional portfolio gallery designs will make sure you can create a beautiful website just like that. You can even make password protected areas for very special people. Never accidentally blow up pictures again thanks to image blocks. Images will automatically be sized to make sure they always look great, no matter how you place them. Just drag and drop the images into position. And if you want to sell your art, you can set up an online store. Yeah, just like that. No matter if you have physical or digital pieces, Squarespace has the right tools to make sure you can start selling your art online. You can even connect your social media accounts by just changing the links and icons. So if you are tired of user-unfriendly interfaces, check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And if you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/moonlightjewel to save 10% of your first purchase of a domain or website. That's squarespace.com/moonlightjewel, code moonlightjewel. Thank you Squarespace again for sponsoring this video, and now let's get right back into the moth making. I found it. It's luckily very big. We have both eyes. Whee! With the eyes successfully removed, I can then get her factory face up off with pure acetone and a ton of cotton pads. I kind of forgot to film her naked face afterwards and just have some footage from before I started the face up, so here's a little sneak peek to a later point in the video. And now to prepare these gigantic eyes, I insert my X-Acto knife into the seam between the eye white and the back of the eye and very, very carefully pry it open. I don't want to break the eye, just open it up. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Oh god, yes. Success! Now I just need to pull the lashes off and can start cleaning the eye. I poured some rubbing alcohol into a little cup and dunked the eye in it, letting it soak for about 10 minutes. After that I take it out and can remove all of the glue residue. I also dunked the other part of the eye into rubbing alcohol and let that sit for a few hours before starting to remove the eye white. This usually comes off super easy. The iris, however, doesn't, so I basically have to soak the eye again and again in rubbing alcohol and scrub some of the paint off in between soaking. Here already half of it is gone, but still a bit to go. Eventually I could get rid of all the paint and there is just a slight shadow left that won't be visible in the end anyway. But now it's finally time to start with the customizing. First I'm cutting some pattern pieces from the pink chiffon. Okay, so in order to make the edges nice, I'm just going to be adding this iron-on stuff. With this iron-on seam tape, I can create non-so cleaned up edges on the skirt that won't fray. I simply iron it on with some baking paper in between, then pull off the paper, fold over the edge of the seam and iron it again, melting the edges together. Chiffon is a nightmare to work with, but this iron-on seam tape makes it a bit more bearable. It took some time, but eventually I cleaned up all the edges of this white and the pink pattern pieces with the seam tape and can now pin them together. I will gather them together with my sewing machine and then cut out some graphics that I made from golden fabric vinyl. After the Cricut did the job, I will then remove all the excess vinyl with an X-Acto knife and a bunch of patience. I ended up making a lot of vinyl pieces and they are all so pretty and will give the doll some unique, elegant pizzazz. How do you write pizzazz? I then cut out some purple fabric patterns like this and will now iron on the gold ribbon elements first, while my dog is being mischievous as always. You eating flies again? She's eating flies. I then just press the print on with my dad's fabric vinyl press and then let it cool down for a bit before carefully pulling off the transfer vinyl and revealing the golden shininess. With the print ironed on, I will now be cleaning up the edges of the ribbon the same way as I did with the skirt pieces. Looks great! After both ribbons were cleaned up, I can then pin them to the gathered skirt before adding a white waistband on top of it by pinning it in place before sewing it on, good sides facing each other. I iron it nice and flat and will now pin together the sides, finished sides in, but add a little ribbon in between so I can lace the skirt later on. Hanfus have usually a front and a back skirt that overlap each other on the sides a bit in the end. When the sides were joined, I then pinned together the bottom seam of the waistband and hem it in place like this. Here it's nice and cleaned up. Now for the final touch of the waistband, I will add a little print on a satin ribbon in gold first. I place it to my liking, iron it on and cut away the excess. Then I take these stripes from a darker pink satin ribbon and will place them under the top and bottom of the light pink ribbon. I already attached some seam tape and will just iron them together. I also glued the sides of this piece and will now iron it onto the skirt waistband with seam tape so that I won't have any visible seams in the end. I carefully first iron it on from the top and then also from the bottom. Wow, it looks so good and it's not overly thick and still super bendable. Alright, the front piece looks good, but I'm still not done. Since she's a moth, I made a gradient print design and printed it on some clear vinyl sheets and cut out the detailing from golden vinyl. I then spray the vinyl sheet with paper, peel off the golden vinyl, spray it as well, and join both pieces carefully. The water lets me shift around the pieces and makes the vinyl less sticky. I then just take a felt squeegee and remove as much water as I can from the piece before letting it dry for a while. It looks great already, but wait until you see the other side. The golden vinyl shows the gradient on the printed clear vinyl sheet and it just looks so beautiful. This was totally not a coincidence. Sometimes things work even better than we think. After the wings had dried, I then can carefully remove the transfer vinyl and then just have to cut them out with some scissors. I also prepared another golden print ribbon off cam from green fabric and cleaned it up already and will now join it with some satin ribbon that I folded like this. I sew it together and then take these ornaments I made from vinyl, fabric and some thick interfacing and will now just simply glue them onto the decorative piece with, you guessed it right, my trusty OOAK glue. I place the knot on the bottom and the lotus on top of the piece. And then I take my wing pieces and will glue them in place underneath the green middle piece with my OOAK glue as well. When everything was glued and dry, it looked like this. And I also added a little button to the backside, so I will be able to just button it onto the skirt piece like this. Now I just have to make a much simpler back skirt the same way and the skirt of the outfit is done. I decided to also add some chains with a small tassel in the very end to really complete the look. I am so happy with how it came out, and to put in perspective just how big these pieces are, let me showcase them together with me as well. See? Enormous. Okay, underneath the skirt the doll will wear a jacket and I decided to make it from black chiffon and will first sew on this green golden collar that I made. I pin it in place and sew it on good sides in. That looks good so far. Now I can take the sleeves, on which I ironed on an eloquent golden pattern, and will sew them along the long seam on the side of the jacket, finished sides in. It already looks so nice. Now I just have to close the sleeve and side seams of the jacket, pin them in place and carefully sew them together pretty sides inwards. And I of course do that on both sides of the jacket. For the sleeve cuff, I take a green fabric stripe and first sew together the short ends, finished sides in. I then take the stripe and fold it in half like this, creating a super clean cuff. And then I just have to pin it onto the sleeve opening of the jacket, good sides facing each other, and carefully sew it on. Now the last thing missing is cleaning up the bottom seam with my trusty seam tape again. And with a tiny ribbon added to close the jacket, it is finished and I'm so happy how pretty it looks with the golden vinyl print. I'm also glad I pulled through and made it out of chiffon because the jacket just looks so elaborate from this material. Just like the skirt, it's pretty big and really puts in perspective the sheer size of the doll. On to the shoes. I want to use Amaya's original shoes, but spice them up a bit, so first the heels have to go. My dad was so nice and helped me with that. After a quick sanding, they look like this, and now I just need some wooden soles. There they are! Thanks again to my dad for being the best crafter. These shoes are inspired by the Chinese Manchu platform shoes, which I just find so beautiful. To join the heels and the shoes, I will first just glue them in place. Then I'm taking some epoxy sculpt that I already mixed and will now close the gaps, nooks and crannies to create a soft transition between the shoe and the heel. I started professionally with wearing gloves, but it was just too warm to keep wearing them. Oh, it's 30 degrees, I can't have these freaking gloves. If you use epoxy without gloves, just make sure to immediately wash your hands after use with a lot of water and soap. So it's the next morning and both of the shoes have dried perfectly. They are solid and can now be sanded smooth. For that, I'm first using my Dremel tool and sand away all the very rough parts. Sanding always takes ages, but it really helps with a better finish. After sanding with the Dremel and sandpaper afterwards, I then spray paint them white so I have a good base color to paint the shoes afterwards. And as you can see, I had to sand a little after spray painting again, but that's fine because I will now be painting the sole of the shoe black so you won't even notice. I'm also using some matte acrylic paint so that any imperfections will not be visible afterwards. Once I'm done with that and the shoe is dry, I can then go in with some light pink acrylic paint to paint the upper part of the shoe pink. I want to match the dress and color scheme, and I think it's a very pretty color combination. And then I go in with my favorite liquid gold paint and paint the seam line of the shoe golden. Now I just have to add a pattern to the shoe. I simply sketch out some ornaments and flowers with some colored pencils first. Once that is all done, I can then take paint and Posca markers to fill in all the details on the shoe. I start by painting the upper edge of the shoe purple with my Posca marker. And then, taking my favorite pink Posca, I paint all the flowers pink. Finally, I go in with my liquid golden paint again and fill in all the little ornaments on the shoe with it. Lastly, I also paint the middle of the flowers golden, and with that the paint job on the shoe is done. To finish them off, I will be gluing these green pom-poms to the toe cap of the shoe with some hot glue. And with that, I think the shoes are done. I never thought they would turn out this nice because my dad kind of said that the soles look like toilet seats, but I'm absolutely living for these. Let's give my doll a headdress. I made these vector graphics for the headdress, and my friend Blue Pixie was so sweet and did her 3D magic and made some 3D printable plates from it that I could now print on my Elegoo Saturn printer. I printed them in grey because I ran out of white resin. But hey, I can just spray paint them white. I give them a good coating in white paint from all angles and end up with something like this. I will first be painting the edges of the pieces with my liquid golden paint again for a luxurious look. I thought it would be a quick thing to paint all the pieces, but guess what? It wasn't, because of the sheer size and amount of them. I did it eventually after an eternity and could now go in with some pink acrylic paint for the big hair bow piece. This also took ages and about 3 layers for a completely opaque look. In the end, it turned out really nice though, just like all the other pieces that I also had to paint in addition to this piece. It does get cramped up here a bit, so let's switch to a wider camera angle. Much better. Okay, let's assemble this beast. First, I will be gluing some iridescent rhinestones to the wings of all the moths. I just used my PVA glue for that. It made the moths extra sparkly. Then I'm taking these lacy flowers and remove the middle piece. And I'm also taking the rhinestone out of the framing. I want to glue the flowers onto the headband, so I will be needing 7 flowers.
7?
I prepared them all and carefully glue them onto the headdress. 1 done. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. It looks really pretty already, but now I will be adding back the rhinestones by gluing them on without the framing. And voila! That looks so pretty. I then prepared a wire on which I'm then going to be threading on some beautiful white beads. Once it was finished, I can then also hot glue it to the headband. It's looking better with each step. Now let's glue on the side pieces onto the headband like this. And then build the rest of the crown by adding the small green moths, then the little pink ornaments to the sides, and then the big purple moth to the top center of the crown, making it an absolute eye-catcher. I then also prepared some beads on gold-painted toothpicks that I will be simply gluing onto the back of the crown like this. For the side pieces of the crown, let's make some tassels. I cut the fiber and folded it in half like this, thread a wire through and twist it to secure it. I then cut a piece of pink satin ribbon and carefully glue it around the tassel like this. I wrap it around and secure it before adding 3 baby pink beads onto the wire and gluing this whole piece to one side of the small additional moths that I printed and painted. I position the tassel first and then carefully glue it on. After adding a second tassel, I then just hot glue a chain onto the top part of the moth. I then just have to make a second moth exactly like the first one and will now glue all of this to the sides of the headdress. And with that, the headdress crown is finally done and I am beyond happy that it worked in the kind of way that I was hoping for. It took way longer though to paint all the pieces than I would have expected, but I think it was worth it in the end. Since Amaya's head is so big, this headdress could almost fit a kid. I low-key wish it would fit me because I honestly love it so much. Okay, so the headdress worked like a charm, but the next thing nearly broke me while making this doll. Let me show you the disaster of the wing making. First, I wanted to make the framing of the wings from cosplay, but realized pretty quickly that making them like this and filling them up with resin would be way too heavy. So I scrapped that idea. For my second attempt, I cut out a different, slightly smaller wing shape out of purple vinyl first. I then removed all the excess vinyl and glued those cut out wings onto some cardstock paper because I wanted to fill the inlays with glittery resin. But I couldn't manage to cut the inlays out super clean by hand, so that was a failure too. For my third attempt, I printed out some gradients on vinyl sheets, glued the cut out purple vinyl wings on top of it like I did with the skirt wings, removed the excess vinyl when it was dry, put the wing onto a sticky surface and spread some resin on top of it. After curing it from both sides, it first looked really good until I realized that the resin didn't stick to the vinyl sheet and it created some ugly air pockets. I really wanted resin wings, but the resin didn't resonate with me, I guess, so let's make them completely differently. I now repeated the steps from attempt number 3, but this time glued the purple vinyl wings on both sides of the clear printed vinyl sheets and cut them out with scissors. Then I could place the wings on my work surface and glue them together with my trusty OOAK glue. I then flip them over and will cut a wire in the length of one wing like this, and then take some purple thin vinyl stripes to attach and mask off the wire as good as I can. It will be the backside of the wings anyways, so it shouldn't be a big deal. I attached those wires to both pairs of wings and they have a good stability with it. And now I'm placing both wings on top of each other and will glue them together with another thin purple vinyl stripe. I just wrap it around the middle for a secure hold. Then I'm taking these thick 7mm magnets and will attach them onto the wings with superglue. The other magnets were just simply superglued onto the doll bag. Then, forgetting about the magnets, I take these golden chains I prepared. I first poke a hole into the upper wing with a needle before threading the little golden ring of the chain through it. I then do the same with the lower wing and thread the other ring from the chain through that spot. I then just have to do the same thing on the other side of the wings, and with that we have some really pretty moth wings. I know they don't glitter, but maybe that would have been even a little too much since the doll is already so busy. Anyways, I absolutely love these wings and I'm glad I could make them work in the end. Also, I'm so glad that the gradients look this good, like, wow. Okay, let's make her wig next. Okay, so I just harvested all of these wefts from this wig because it was the easiest way to get hair weft. Yeah, now I'm gonna be gluing the wig. And there's the dough! Okay, so I created this huge wig cap and now we'll use my harvested wefts and make a wig and hopefully find a nice camera angle to film this. Yeah, finding a good angle was actually not that easy, but you guys probably know the way I make wigs for my dolls by now. I simply hot glue my fingers and wefts onto the wig cap in layers. On this wig I went for the snail technique, which means that I simply glued the wefts in a swirl around the head until I reached the very top of the head. And since I harvested the hair from a wig for this project, I can then just use the finisher of the wig and simply glue it onto the top part. This was satisfyingly easy after this wing dilemma before. I then just need to style her wig, and for that I will first section off a front strand, take a satin ribbon and will braid the front piece together with the satin ribbon for a super cute look. This was a bit finicky, but I really enjoy the look. I then section off another strand of hair behind the first one and also braid this one. And of course I need to do the same thing on the other side still. After that was done, I already braided a strand of hair on the back of her head and will now put the braid into a little bun and secure it with bobby pins. Doesn't need to be super pretty because it will be hidden later on. And then I take my braided front hairs and will connect them to the hair bun, hiding and pinning the ends in place with bobby pins as well. Then I just need to cut and style the bangs with a hair iron and some hairspray. And then it's time to hide the ugly parts of the bun. I already added some additional small lace flowers and will hide the rest with a big baby pink fake flower which I simply hot glue on top of the bun because I won't be opening up that wig anymore anyways. And with that the wig is done and I really love it. I think the silver color really fits the ethereal moth look. I also additionally added a small little golden chain to the back of the hair because I found it looked cute. And my dad helped me out again here by making this cool doll stand for Amaya as well. Okay, one more thing left. Face and eyes. For the face I really wanted to make it look like the Chinese opera makeup, so I will first just add some micro glitter to the face before going in with heavy pink blushing around the eyes, nose and cheeks with my soft pastels. It doesn't show on cam how intense the blushing is, but it was pretty bold. After I was satisfied with it, I then start filling in the lips with some pink pencils to give them a lipstick look. I first just outline them and then start filling them in. After spraying her with MSC, I then start mapping out the Phoenix eyeliner. I'm creating a little inner corner moment and then sketch out the initial lines of the liner. And after I sketched out both sides, I then can go in with my matte black acrylic paint and fill in the liner. Actually, it was quite hard to do this on such a big face. You would think bigger is easier, but nope, it is not. You really have to hold your hand steady and take deep breaths in between the brush strokes. The eyebrows I sketched fittingly to her hair color and gray. I didn't want to make them too angry and bold, but tried to just give her a sweet and curious expression. And for a little eye catcher, I'm giving her a tiny little forehead ornament. It reminds me a little of the Kitsune Fox doll that I made years ago. After sketching out the ornament, I then just fill it in with some pink acrylic paint. It looks so pretty. And then I also fill in the eyebrows with some thin lines of grey gouache paint. And then it's time for lower lashes. I'm using my trusty nail art brush again and then slowly paint them with my gouache paint in dark brown. It's nicer to use dark brown for lower lashes rather than black in my opinion. Painting these lashes is just a lot of practice and I can't really give any advice on how to paint them easier. After I'm satisfied with them, I then like to blend in the lash line with some black pastel chalk dust. This makes them look more realistic. And then it's time for some pearly shimmers on her cheeks to give the face that magical glow. And after a final spray of Mr. Super Clear, I then can gloss her lips with my Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. I also apply a layer of gloss on her waterline for some more dimension. Now just some lashes are missing. First I apply some lash glue, in this case PVA glue, and let it become a bit tacky. And then I'm using these human lashes from the dollar store. Since her eyes are so big, they were almost too short, but they worked out just fine in the end. I ended up gluing the second eye off cam, so I can already show you guys how I painted the eyes. First I'm applying a layer of UV nail polish to the iris and cure it. I then take two eye templates that I made in Adobe Illustrator and first apply some glitter to them with some PVA glue and holographic glitter. I let them dry and then add another layer of UV nail polish and even sprinkle some glitter on that as well. Then I press the template of the eye onto the iris firmly and curing it like this under the UV lamp for a minute. After it was cured, I can finally paint the sclera. In this case, I will paint it black because I found it very fitting for a moth queen. When both eyes were done, I then just need to click them back together. And with that, the moth goddess is done, and I can't wait to show her to you guys. I hope you will love her as much as I do. And here's my moth goddess. This was such a big, challenging project, but I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you love what I do, please consider subscribing, commenting, and leaving a like on the video. And if you feel super extra, you can join my Patreon. That makes you a true hero. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video and have a beautiful, fluttery day. Bye! Whoa, she's